Hello friends, today we will be discussing the further topics of this cardiovascular histology. Yesterday we had talked about the atherosclerosis, a little bit about histology of atherosclerosis, that it's an intimal disease and it mostly affects the large and medium sized arteries. Okay. Now there is also what we call the IHD. IHD is known as ischemic heart disease. I'm not teaching this in detail because it's a histology class, just giving you a correlation in histology. Just a second, I know. So ischemic heart disease is basically the disease which is caused by coronary atherosclerosis. Can you understand? Coronary atherosclerosis. The disease caused by coronary atherosclerosis means if the coronary vasculature of the heart is affected because of the plaque, that means the blood supply to this region will be compromised. Blood supply to this region will be compromised, guys. So for example, if this vessel was supplying to this specific myocardial cell, for example, it was like 100% blood. So now due to this atheroma, the blood supply will get reduced to 50%. So have you compromised the blood supply or not? So will your myocardial cell, while it's metabolically active, while it's working in cases of stress, in cases of strenuous exercise, will it get affected? Will its metabolism get affected because you are not able to send it full blood supply? That means you are not able to send it full oxygen. That means the metabolism will change to anaerobic, isn't it? Okay, so it's not that every time it is myocardial ischemia. It's not every time it is myocardial ischemia. Okay. Now, what will define whether it will be myocardial ischemia? What will define whether it will be chronic ischemic cardiopathy or a sudden cardiac death or angina pectoris? That will depend on the severity of the coronary atherosclerosis. That will depend on the severity of this part. How much severe it is. Is it blocking 40%? Is it blocking 60% of the vessel? Is it blocking 80% of the vessel? According to that, we will understand. We have definitions of our, which you have to learn in the second year. Okay. So that's why what we do is once we have this system happening, once we have this problem happening, what we do in our modern days is the angioplasty. We do angioplasty. You may have seen there's an interventional cardiologist who is doing this. So what he does is he takes that he uses those catheters, balloon catheters. Okay, and then what he does is, for example, if this is a blood vessel, it's actually my favorite specialty. So what happens is, if there is a block in the vessel, what we do is we will get the thing here. We will take the femoral vein, femoral artery actually, and then we reach here. And what we do is we inflate that balloon. What will happen? This balloon will push this atheroma to the side and we will restore the blood supply. This is all about angioplasty. Okay. But what if all of the vessel is clogged? This was for angioplasty. But what if this is another blood vessel and I am having full clogging? There is full clogging. Or there is a very severe clog. What you will do? We go for coronary artery bypass surgery. We go for coronary artery bypass surgery. This is the significance of this histology. Okay. I will understand, guys. Is the voice clear? So yesterday we had talked about, we had talked about those medium-sized arteries, isn't it? Muscular arteries. I want to continue that discussion, that arterioles. Histologically, I'm saying histologically. Okay, arterioles. Arterioles are the terminal arterial vessels. If an arterial system has to terminate, they will terminate into these smallest vessels. These are the smallest arteries. Smallest arteries are arterioles. The diameter is less than 0.1 mm. Diameter is less than 0.1 mm, and the lumen is more narrower than a muscular artery, than an elastic artery. Whatever is the thickness, now let me tell you how much small they are, how much narrow their lumen is. You know, whatever is the thickness of their wall. For example, this is the thickness of their wall, isn't it? This is the thickness. Okay, let me take more thick. This is the thickness of their wall. Okay, thickness of their wall. This thickness will be equal to their diameter. Can we understand what I'm telling? See, this will be equal to the diameter. So the thickness of wall corresponds to luminal diameter. Is it clear? Is it clear, guys? Are we able to? Is it audible? Okay. What is the reason for this? Why arterioles have narrow, no, this much narrow lumen, and why the diameter is equal? There are two reasons basically. If I take the histological slide of arterioles, and if I see, normally I was able to see tunica adventitia, tunica media, tunica intima, all in this world. LKG kindergarten student also know this. But what we as a doctor know is that tunica adventitia is very much less. The tunica adventitia in arteriole is scanty. Okay. And if you check its tunica media, the tunica media will not have so many layers of smooth muscle. Hardly one or two layers. Okay. So what do you think? Isn't it now one of the reasons that you are having this luminal diameter equal to wall thickness? Second is that if you go into intima, that intima is having less amount of connective tissue. In the intima, intima we said we have endothelium, basal lamina. So connective tissue will be less. So connective tissue, second reason is connective tissue in the intima, very less. So one reason we said adventitia is scanty. Adventitia, I hope you remember. The outer connective tissue, scanty. That's why it gave it a. So we have to remember all this. Now, after arterioles, I go to meta-arterioles. Meta-arterioles are, think like I have arterioles right now. These are arterioles, for example. And whatever arterioles is giving rise to is the meta-arterioles, which will go into capillaries, which are giving rise to capillaries. Some sort of intermediate vessels. I'm writing so small today because for a reason. So intermediate vessels giving rise to capillaries, giving rise to capillaries. Okay. Now, what is the difference between them? You know, there is a beautiful concept for meta-arterioles. The concept is they have precapillary sphincters. They have precapillary sphincters. Okay. Now, for example, I give an example like this. I make 2 or 3 arterioles. This is arteriole, another arteriole, another arteriole. Okay, these are arterioles. Now these arterioles will give rise to what? Capillaries. Capillaries, okay? Capillaries, they will give rise to capillaries. Now, where is the origin of capillary? Capillary origin is there, isn't it? This is the origin of the capillary, isn't it, guys? Origin of the capillary. Is it clear, guys? Is it clear, or we are sleeping? We are sleeping, or we are understanding what I mean? So there is no reply in the chat box. Okay. So we have at the origin, we have this sphincter. We have this sphincter. We have a sphincter. Okay. Now, tell me one thing. There was a, thoroughfare was a concept I will be teaching you in physiology. Okay. Thoroughfare was a concept. See, if I want to prevent, for example, this the arterioles, again, writing the same thing, meta-arterioles. First, I write arterioles. Let me write it clearly. This is arteriole. This is capillary. Now, meta-arteriole is someone in between. Now, at this region, you have pre-capillary sphincter. Now, if I constrict this sphincter, let me give you an example from the GIT. For example, this is your lower esophageal sphincter, isn't it? Lower esophageal sphincter. If you want to eat the food, what will happen? This sphincter. Now, how is the movement of sphincter? Who can tell me? Well, let us take Wais Khan. Yes, Wais Khan, what is the mechanism behind working of a sphincter? Wais Khan, what is the mechanism of sphincter? How does a sphincter work? Where is that student? He is not present. Yeah, so who can tell us? See, the sphincter works such that, for example, this is a narrow luminal vessel and you have sphincter around this. If you want to open this lumen, you will contract in this way so that this opening will, it will give rise to an opening. Now it's open, okay? It's open. You have contracted like this. Are you will understand? Is clear? Now, if I want to relax the sphincter, that means what should I do? I should do, it will block. Okay. So relaxation, it will close this. Same way. So that means if lower esophageal sphincter is opening, food will come down in the stomach. And if I want to protect the reflux of the food, I should close the sphincter so that it does not come into the esophagus. Same thing is happening in the arterial system. If you want to prevent the blood flow in the capillary system, you will, pre-capillary sphincter, which is present at the origin, should be constricted. You will constrict this. So I am telling you, you are having a nice body temperature outside. There is no stress. You are normally sitting. Is your body in an emergency? Does your every part of the cell need that much oxygen? No, sir. We are in sitting position in nice comfortable room, 37 degrees centigrades, normal temperature, normal room temperature, normal body water. Everything is okay. So what will you do is, your cells don't need no more amount of blood. So what they will do is, they will put this sphincter, pre-capillary sphincter, they will contract this. Once they contract this, the blood will be used at some other place. But once you have you need more blood. Okay, what will happen? You need more blood at this point. What will happen? This pre-capillary sphincter should open. It should not constrict. Are we able to understand? So that's why meta-arterioles are important. And do you know, meta-arterioles don't have that continuity in the smooth muscle cells. Okay, smooth muscle cells are arranged in rings. It's not complete. It's incomplete in case of meta-arterioles. Okay. So this capillary bed, I call this as capillary bed. This is called as capillary bed. This is called capillary bed. Okay. Capillary bed, this place. So this capillary bed will not be having this perfusion. So constriction of precapillary sphincters will lead to this condition. Okay. You are not added in the group. Okay, let me add you in the group. Just a second. Let me add you in the group. Just a second. But come regularly, otherwise not. Okay. So now you are added. Okay. Now you are added. Fine. Can you give me a thumbs up in the group? Capillary bed means this is the place where you have a network of capillaries. Where you have a network of capillaries, and these sides you have arterioles. And these sides you have venules. These sides you have venules. This system I will be teaching you in physiology. Okay. Definitely will teach you in a very big detail so that you can remember each and everything about it. Definitely will enjoy it. So this is venules. These are arterioles. And this is all capillary system in between, which is supplying this part. Things will come from the heart towards this part of the tissue and will leave from the venular side for the venous return. I should have rather drawn this on this side because right-sided system, mostly the venous system, okay? Mostly drawn like that. So now from you people, let us ask this student who has, tell me what is arteriosclerosis? Arteriosclerosis. What is arteriosclerosis, guys? So arteriosclerosis is not equal to atherosclerosis, guys. That is athero. That's why I told you atherosclerosis. Arteriosclerosis. No. Arteriosclerosis means when you have rigid hyaline thickening of blood vessel walls. A rigid hyaline thickening of blood vessel walls, and it's not the intimal disease, it is a medial calcification. It's some media, tunica media is involved in this. Tunica media, and that too same in the medium sized arteries. Okay. And once this medium media is involved, okay, for example, any case of hypertension, diabetes mellitus, okay, so they will become what? Calcified. Let me write, they will become calcified. Calcification in the tunica media. That's not the first sign actually of the arteriosclerosis, but yeah, in the eventual, gradually there will be calcification in the media. So atherosclerosis, that's why I told you in the beginning, guys. Atherosclerosis is a disease of intima, while as arteriosclerosis is a disease of media, tunica media. That's the beautiful thing I can tell you. Okay. And arteriosclerosis, if you want to appreciate, I want to tell you like this. If you want to see hyaline, I will be teaching you this in the cardiovascular pathology. Okay. Definitely. We will enjoy it. So hyaline thickening. Hyaline thickening, if you want to see a hyaline thickening, the hyaline thickening I will be telling you, okay? So that glass thickening, glass-like appearance. Hyaline thickening, mostly, if you want to see this under the microscope, take small artery. Take a small artery. Or you can take the arterioles of what organ? Take kidney. You will appreciate very nicely this hyaline thickening. And what is the causes? What is the associations of arteriosclerosis? What examples that you have to remember? At least two: diabetes mellitus, hypertension. Diabetes mellitus, hypertension. Are we able to understand, guys? Have we finished the arterioles and all this system? Yeah. Okay. See, guys. Just have a look. Just have a review. Let's give you a review of these all these four arteries. Okay, four systems. If I take all of them in the chart, okay, this is elastic artery, this is muscular artery, these are arterioles, and these are meta-arterioles. What do you guess? What do you guess, guys? Yes, the student. I guess so. What do you guess? This. Yeah, what is this? Not yet completed, okay? Still to read more about this. We can't finish something in 5 minutes. That's the principle of medicine. So, elastic arteries, muscular arteries, arterioles, and meta-arterioles. I have to first give you a review of what we have learned, okay, guys? Then only we can proceed to the next topic. So, if I talk about the intima, okay, do all of these have endothelium? Just give a simple review. Do all of them have an endothelium? Yes. So tick, 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 tick. What's our endothelium? Do all of them have subendothelial layer? Okay, first tell me like this. Do all of them have basal lamina? Basal lamina. Basal lamina. Do all of them have basal lamina? Yes, they all of them have basal lamina. Easy. Okay, then I go more inside subendothelial layer. Do all of them have some subendothelial layer? Sir, meta-arterioles don't have subendothelial layer. We said they are most thin, smaller than the arterioles. Even their thickness is complying. But these have. And here you can also use cross also. Okay, but you can take tick also. Can have subendothelial, cannot have. Maybe, may not be. Okay. We talked about yesterday the internal elastic lamina. Internal elastic lamina. So internal elastic lamina is thick in which of the following? Is thick. Let me take a red pen. Is thick in which of the following? Very nice answer. Beautiful answer, Sharia. Muscular layer. Muscular layer is the thickest. Okay. Internal elastic lamina is absent totally in which of the following? Is absent totally in which of the following? It's a logic, common sense. This one, it's absent totally. Okay. Arterioles can have, okay. There may be presence of some. So that's why I'm giving you something which is undistinguished, not going into the, fixing ourselves. Okay. So, we had read some time back in the blood physiology, the factor 8. Factor 8. We remember that. So, endothelium in the factor 8, which is not having that. Which of the following is not having that? Remember meta-arterioles. Yes, very nice. And hemophilic. So, this is not having that. Rest of all of them have. Okay, so don't go into that detail. We remove that. I'm here concerned about the histology. Uh, Let me go into Tunica media. Tunica media, who was having fenestrations in the, if I tell the name, that it will be having, was having fenestrations. Very nice answer, Fabina. It was in the elastic arteries. At least 70 fenestrations were present in the elastic membranes of the elastic arteries. Okay. So media has smooth muscle cells. So which has in between them elastic membranes, interspersion. Which of the following is having the interspersion of smooth muscle cells in between them, in between the smooth muscles, the elastic membranes? Very nice answer. It's elastic. So elastic arteries will have fenestrated, sorry, they will have smooth muscle cells which will be present in interspersed between elastic membrane. Okay, tell me like this: which is having a discontinuous smooth muscle cells? Which of the following is having discontinuous? Meta-arteriole, beautiful answer. So meta-arteriole is having a discontinuous layer. Right now we learned it, isn't it? Discontinuous. Okay, discontinuous layer is present here. Okay, guys. So in which of the following is the external elastic lamina very thick? Think that if I have more muscles, then I should have more elastic around, so that to give that yeah, very nice answer. So it's the muscular arteries which I have more external elastic lamina. Okay, so which of the following, listen to my question, he will confuse you in the exam. See, he will put you like this. He will say, see how he can frame the question. He will say, which of the following, which of the following is having vasa vasorum in the media? In the media. Beautiful answer. So the media, so the media of vasa vasorum in media. Normally vasa vasorum is present in the adventitia, but in media it's absent, but can be present in the in the media of elastic vessels. So in the media of elastic vessels, vasa vasorum may be present, may not be present. Okay. Now talking about adventitia. Adventitia, I told you it is fibroelastic, isn't it? Fibroclastic. If it is fibroelastic, then you should think of two arteries. What? First two. If it is fibroelastic, two first. Elastic muscular. They have fibroelastic adventitia. If loose, do they have loose connective tissue? No, sir, they don't have loose connective tissue. We are saying fibroelastic, so don't have. So that means these two should have. Yes, sir, they have. Are we understanding, guys? Loose connective tissue. In these two absent, in these two present. Okay. Nerve fibers present in all except meta-arterioles. Lymphatic drainage, or vessels present in what? First one, definitely they have. Second one, definitely they have. Third one don't have, and fourth one don't have. So it's easy. Okay. However, understand. So it will depend, on the prominence of what is prominent to you. If something is not prominent to you, you always also can say may be present or may not be present, because you are not able to appreciate. It's not prominent. Okay. Is it clear, guys? I had an image last time for you. Where is that image? Mhm. See here only, I will show you. Okay. Can we see this? Can we see this? This is the aorta. Okay. Having these, not appreciating nicely here, but you can say it's basically we are using here an elastic stain. Okay. We are using an elastic stain and able to appreciate what elastic fibers, more about darkness. Okay. Black, 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 wavy type of a thing. Okay. And can we appreciate the collagen fibers? What is the type of collagen, by the way, in the blood vessels? Mm-hmm. Type of collagen? For collagen, isn't it? Okay. So this is one diagram. Okay. Uh, I hope I have drawn yesterday the diagram, so it will be easy for you to understand. Okay. This is gone. Can you see this is a section of a tissue where you are seeing the vein nerve. Let me take red pen. Vein nerve muscular artery. Why muscular artery is giving this shape and why this is wavy in appearance here? What's the reason? What's the reason, guys? The reason is that the more stronger the walls are, the more stronger the walls are, the more continuity they will show. If something is more weaker, it will try to keep, it will give us the shapes will be variable. Okay. That's why we also make the veins like this. In the books, if you check, veins are not made in a perfect circle. They'll make it like this. But artery, if you have to make, will make it clear, consistent. I have taught you in anatomy also the principles of everything what the books wants to speak. Everything in the book speaks something. Everything in the book speaks. There's a meaning. If you have eyes, okay. So this is the concept behind this. It's nothing about the elastic and something. Okay. Should remember arteries are always drawn like this. We make them more consistent, make them more circular. Veins are made like this. Okay. So this is one image. Okay. Let us give you two images and then you can compare. Okay. Can we see both images? So which of the following is media? Take this much as media. Okay. Take this much as media. See, he has also drawn it. Media. See the vessel lumen, how much narrow media it has. Isn't it? That's why I told you. This muscle layer, that's why it's meaning the shape is not confined, shape is not conformed, not conforming. Um, can we see the adventitia? Can we see the adventitia? This much is the adventitia. This much is the adventitia. Once you are going into the histology lab, you can open this video and listen, okay? And then you can appreciate in the microscope in your lab, okay? This can help you. So this is the adventitia, okay? So intima should be somewhere here. Intima should be somewhere here. Intima. See, small intima. Okay. So these are the cross sections of the arteries. Now going more inside, this is the endothelium. Okay, this is the endothelium. Endothelium. This is the internal elastic lamina. This region tunica media. This is the tunica adventitia. Okay, can we see spindle shape? I think this has less of the smooth muscle. Okay, now let us take you into the some principles which we have seen what is happening at a microscopic level is giving you some little amount of association with physiology. If you want to, there are two concepts. The concept is vasoconstriction, vasodilation. Vasoconstriction, we can say, if you are narrowing the lumen of a blood vessel, if you are narrowing the lumen of the blood vessel, you can say, it's synonymous. You can say that it is vasoconstriction. And if the lumen of the blood vessel is widened, we say vasodilation. That means in vasoconstriction, blood will start flowing less to that area. Blood will start flowing less to that area. Okay. And in vasodilation, if you dilate the lumen of the blood vessel, more blood will start going to that area. That means if I have two tissue parts here, more blood will come here. Okay. Now, this principle of vasoconstriction and vasodilation is that in vasoconstriction, mostly which level you are doing the vasoconstriction? We are doing it at the arteriolar level. Vasoconstriction, arterioles. If I talk about arterioles, if I constrict the arterioles, I will be decreasing the blood supply. Decrease the blood supply to that area. And this vasoconstriction is normally happening, not actually, it's part of physiology of your body, that you get vasoconstriction by sympathetic nerve fibers. You have a nerve supplying to your blood vessel. Those are called vasomotor nerve, and other other hormones are also responsible for this. Okay, so vasomotor nerves. Okay, vasomotor nerves. So vasomotor nerves will be activated. No, vasomotor nerves will be activating the sympathetic nerve fibers and leading to the vasoconstriction. Okay, there's no more discussions in the group. Okay, so what will happen is the nerves which are supplying the smooth muscle cells in the tunica media, if you can understand like this, here is a nerve, and once a nerve is communicating to another nerve, we say here you say ganglia, we can say also this is synapse. We can say it is synapse. Now same is not happening in the blood vessel. Same is not happening in the blood vessel. The blood vessel is like this. This is the smooth muscle cell in the media. Okay, this is the smooth muscle cell in the media, and once this nerve is coming, it is not synapsing with it. It is not synapsing on the smooth muscle cells in the tunica media, but it is producing neurotransmitter. That neurotransmitter is norepinephrine. It produces norepinephrine, only produces norepinephrine like this, not synapses. Now this norepinephrine will diffuse at this region. It will diffuse to all the places, to all this system, because of gap junctions, because they have gap junctions in between. So through the gap junctions, they will at the same time communicate, and the lumen will become narrow from this to this. So did you decrease the blood supply or increase the blood supply to this part? In case of sympathetic nerve surge, in case of sympathetic system stimulus, did your vessels supplied more blood to that part or less? Right now, I'm not talking about any specific organ, just understanding the principle of vasoconstriction for first year people. So doing vasoconstriction will decrease the blood flow to that part, will decrease the blood flow to that part. How is it happening, sir? The nerves are coming to the tunica media. They are not actually synapsing, but they are producing, they are throwing their neurotransmitters, because nerve fiber is producing the epinephrine neurotransmitter in the cell body, which we'll be learning in physiology. And that I think we have taught you, isn't it, already in the physiology. So this neurotransmitter will then travel. Okay, we have this, I hope you remember this system. So you are producing these systems and they are moving through this axon and reaching to the nerve terminal. And now this nerve terminal will deposit this on specific stimulus. Once you have a specific depolarization or a command from the central nervous system, you will deposit these neurotransmitters which you are producing. If it is an adrenergic neuron, that is, it is producing norepinephrine, then it will be producing the norepinephrine at that point. If it is a serotonergic neuron, then it will be producing serotonin at this moment. If it is a dopaminergic neuron, it will be producing dopamine at this point. Can we understand? Everyone has his own duty and work. So here I am talking about adrenergic neuron right now, that is norepinephrine. I will be telling you what is the difference between epinephrine and norepinephrine shortly in physiology. Okay. So this is the place where you will be producing all these neurotransmitters. What is neurotransmitter? If a neuron is producing any hormone, we call it neurotransmitter for simple purposes. Okay. So this will, through the gap junctions, diffuse, and this will produce a, can say, equal to a syncytial activity, that all things are happening at the same time, and then will lead to vasoconstriction. So sympathetic, vasoconstriction, adrenergic fiber. Remember three words. Sympathetic, through the which nerves? Who is stimulated? What stimulates them? Sympathetic nerve fibers, vasomotor nerves. Okay, if you want to stimulate vasoconstriction by the sympathetic nerves, you will have two mediators. You will have sympathetic nerve fibers, you will have vasomotor nerves. Okay, so have you understood vasoconstriction? Why, sir, you are teaching us physiology? I'm not teaching physiology, giving you histological relation, smooth muscle cells. I want to tell you that they are not synapsing actually. Okay. Talking about vasodilatation, on the other hand, vasodilation will happen in a relaxed mood. Parasympathetic nerve fibers. Parasympathetic nerve fibers. Okay. Is it clear? Parasympathetic vasodilation. Okay. See, I will give you an example. Okay. Let us give you an example. Sir, how do we remember this? I'll give you an example. That's a famous example which every student knows. Now you see a ghost. Okay. Or you see a dog. Dog is a great example. Okay. Always taught in schools. See, I am drawing something which is totally something which is out of this. No, I don't know which animal this is, but I'm trying to make dog. Okay. To make dog. This is dog. Okay. This is a triangular dog. Okay. And this is his tongue. This is his tongue. Okay. This is his tongue with a drooling saliva. With drooling saliva. Okay, guys. This is his tongue with drooling saliva. And this is here, for example, one of your student. This is what student? Whose name should I say? Okay. This is, for example, Basit. Okay. This is Basit. Let us make him. He is thin also, so let us make like this. So guys, what will happen? Once once this person, B person, is seeing this dog, his brain already has programmed since childhood that once a dog is there, he will he will eat you, isn't it? He will bite you, and body has to protect itself. So what will you do is the body will say, I have to protect myself, so I should run away, I should create a distance. So the more far your brain will calculate a distance, that is called safe distance. That safe distance will be calculated. I will be teaching you neurology. So this safe distance will be calculated, and you will go at least, it should be more, so that you can, the size of the dog decreases while you are running. So more the size of the dog decreases from your brain, the more safe you are, isn't it? More the image size is getting decreased, the more safe you are. Okay. So this is done by, now tell me right now, this boy came after a dinner. He had a candlelight dinner. He had a candlelight dinner. Okay. He was alone. That's a different question. He was alone at a candlelight dinner. And he took, for example, 3 chicken pieces. 3 chicken pieces. Okay. He took leg pieces. Now what will happen is, he is coming and he saw this dog. So what will happen is, once he sees, and this he is saying, "Ugh." So once this sound utters from the mouth of the dog, his vestibular system, his vestibular system, his hearing system, auditory cortex, this will communicate with the motor cortex. This will coordinate with the hippocampus. This will coordinate with the amygdala. This will coordinate also with they will talk each other, cerebellum. In those nanoseconds, the decision has to be taken. So what will happen? The body is under a stress. This is a simple example. It's not that you will only give the example of the body as stress in case of a dog. I will be teaching you in physiology that what are the stresses to the body. Right now, giving you, making you oriented because your first year beginning. That's why giving you such an easy example. So what will happen is your body will communicate with all the systems of your brain, which I don't want to speak right now because first year again. So they will do is they will stimulate the sympathetic nervous system. This all on seeing him and on listening to just this much, his brain has been programmed. He knows from his childhood that he will eat me. So sympathetic nerve fibers, so sympathetic nervous will be activated. So dog will stimulate the sympathetic nervous system of this person. Both are activating their own sympathetic nerve system. This is also activating its sympathetic nervous system. This is also activating. He is ready to eat him, and he is getting, his sympathetic nervous is getting stimulated because of fear, isn't it? Stress. So what will happen now? Now he has taken the food. Now tell me one question. One question I will say. Is it important right now to digest the food, or is it important to run? What is the preference for you? It's important to run. Because if you start digesting your own leg piece, then dog will take your leg piece, isn't it? Dog will start digesting your leg piece. If you are worried about the leg piece right now, dog will digest your leg piece, isn't it? So what will happen is, what will the body do is, it will decrease the blood supply to this area. It will decrease the blood supply. It will do vasoconstriction of gut vessels. Your gut vessels will get vasoconstricted. What a beautiful concept. I always get shocked how these things are working. Surprised am I always. So this will cause what? Vasoconstriction. And then this all blood, where will this blood go, sir? This is diverted to your legs, your calf muscles. I don't know why I love medicine. Calf muscles. And once the calf muscles are getting all the blood, you will run more and you will get more oxygen, more energy, more metabolism, and you can deal with that stressful situation. Okay. So this should happen. Vasoconstriction is important. I should supply. And why you get also your skin, you get pale in color, because peripheral vasoconstriction is happening. The peripheral vasoconstriction is happening. And the skin, we don't need right now a very nice flow to the skin. We want flow to the muscle, we want flow to the brain, we want flow to the heart. Okay, we don't want to litter right now. We don't want to litter. Even if he has taken, for example, 5 bottles of cola, he can't right now pee. If he goes for pee, then you understand what a dog can do, isn't it? So he has to decrease the GFR. He has to decrease the renal function at that point so that it can deal with that stress. Okay. Now vasodilatation. So that means vasodilation was also important at the same time. Once you were doing a vasoconstriction, if you are vasoconstricting one system, then the other system should get vasodilated so that it is having that advantage of vasoconstriction. No, your vasoconstriction should be advantageous. It's not that every time vasoconstriction that happens for no cause. There is something that you are doing vasoconstriction for. Either the body is protecting itself, either the body has to stop a metabolism, something like, there can be so many things we can think. So vasodilation should be happening by parasympathetic nerve fibers. Why, sir? Why parasympathetic nerve fibers? Because parasympathetic nerve fibers are cholinergic fibers. Please listen to this statement. Parasympathetic nerve fibers are cholinergic, that is, they secrete acetylcholine. But mostly sympathetic fibers are adrenergic. Okay, then there will be varieties of nerve fibers. Right now, just I'm comparing two systems: adrenergic nerve fibers, norepinephrine. Cholinergic nerve fibers, parasympathetic. So acetylcholine is released. Acetylcholine is released during parasympathetic nervous system. Secreted by which nerves? Parasympathetic nerve fibers. Okay, what they do is, once you, for example, you have a blood vessel. Since I'm here for histology, not teaching physiology, otherwise I will start going into something else. Okay, because this is all tasty. So this is the endothelium. This is the endothelium, guys. So endothelium, what will it do is, once you have acetylcholine, it will tell this endothelium to produce a substance, that is nitric oxide. Nitric oxide. Okay. It was also known as what? EDRF, endothelium derived relaxing factor. This will be done by, guys, cholinergic fibers. Okay. So this nitric oxide, once endothelium is producing the nitric oxide, this nitric oxide will go into the smooth muscle cells, which is present in dash. That's why the beauty of histology comes here. That's why the beauty of histology comes here, guys. What is in the, where is the smooth muscle cell? Yeah. Where is the smooth muscle cell? Yeah, that's okay. But which region? Media. It's media. I'm not talking which artery right now. Listen to the question. So what they will do is, nitric oxide will start diffusing towards smooth muscle cells. So smooth muscle cells will activate a system that is called as CGMP system, cyclic guanosine monophosphate system. Cyclic guanosine monophosphate system. This system causes relaxation, leads to dilation. How we will understand, guys? We'll be reading it in detail. Okay. Is it clear? So cholinergic system is here stimulating what? It is stimulating this CGMP system. So nitric oxide is having the role. Nitric oxide, you name it, so many roles it has. Okay. So this is the concept why histology is important. Okay. Now talking about the capillary. See, I want to tell you, I have already discussed everything about capillaries in the past. I have taught you, it has those desmin, vimentin, fascia, occludentis. That is tight junction. I have taught you, isn't it? Isn't it? So I think, no, capillaries, I should give you one concept that capillaries have single layer of endothelial cells. Second thing, they may have presence of parasites. They may have presence of parasites. What is present in the endothelial cells? Endothelial cells has nucleus, Golgi complex with less cytoplasm, mitochondria, ribosomes, as rough endoplasmic reticulum. What are the intermediate filaments? I am revising. I have taught you already. Just check my videos. I think in the drive. So desmin, vimentin. I have taught you these intermediate filaments in detail there. Okay. And I've also told you about the junctions, cell junctions. I have taught in detail too. That is fascia occludentis, fascia occludentis. That is tight junction. Okay. And desmosomes, all that. So what are the types of capillaries? That's important. Please put a star on this question. What are the types of capillaries? Let me change the color of the pen, okay? 30 types of capillaries. If I talk about the types of capillaries, they can be somatic capillaries. There can be visceral capillaries. And they can be, what else? Sinusoidal capillaries. This is important, guys. This is important to understand physiology also. Somatic capillaries. This is also known as somatic capillaries, also known as continuous capillaries. Why I always wrote spelling of continuous. The continuous spelling should have been INOUOUS, but I always write it in a simple way. Okay. So continuous capillaries, fenestrated capillaries, also known as fenestrated capillaries, visceral capillaries, and sinusoids or pool, isn't it? Sinusoids. Okay. So let us give you a clear difference about them. Okay. Continuous capillaries contain, they have an important feature. They contain more amount of pinocytic vesicles. They contain more amount of pinocytic vesicles. Okay. So which system does not have this except CNS? In the CNS, you don't have these pinocytic vesicles. And that's why that's why they are, helping, also adding to that BBB, that's blood-brain barrier. So this less pinocytic vesicles in the somatic capillaries or the continuous capillaries in the CNS is also adding to the barrier, blood-brain barrier. Now, what is specific about, histologically, what is specific about pinocytic vesicles? They have more amount of pinocytic vesicles, but except at the site of CNS where we have less amount of pinocytic vesicles, and some books relate this, some books attribute this function of having less pinocytic vesicles for blood-brain barrier. See, concept of continuous somatic capillaries is that if it is continuous, that means they should have a continuous basal lamina. Basal lamina is having endothelium, basal lamina, isn't it? It's acting as a ground substance on which everything you are putting, like a house you are constructing, you are putting bricks. You are first generating a nice plinth, and that plinth has to be now you can raise a big building, whatever building size you want. So if I have continuous basement membrane with no windows, I say it is continuous somatic capillary. That is, it is having a continuous. What is the concept of continuous somatic capillary? You should not say it is lacking fenestrine. The best answer to best way to speak is it is having a continuous basal lamina. First thing, then you will say, and hence it lacks. Okay, like that you can say. Now, where will you see these capillaries, sir? These capillaries you will see in nervous tissue. Can we understand? These capillaries we see in nervous tissue. But sir, you told us continuous capillaries is having what? Pinostic vesicles. Yeah, at the same time I told you that in the continuous capillaries, CNS is having less amount of pinostic vesicles. That is to be remembered. Second concept is in the muscle. You have these continuous capillaries. In the exocrine glands, you have these continuous capillaries. In the lungs even, in the lungs, you have continuous capillaries. How you understand? And all your extracellular matrix that is connected to you is having this continuous capillaries. Okay. Now, what is a characteristic of fenestrated? Fenestrated means they have holes. They have perforations. Fenestrations means perforations. Their basal lamina has perforations. Like this, see, I will make perforation. They are not continuous, they are fenestrated. Okay. Now they have a thin membrane. They have a thin membrane that is called a diaphragm. Thin membrane. Okay. Diaphragm. They have a thin membrane that is called diaphragm. So fenestrations, these openings which are around 80 nanometers in diameter, they are bridged. They are connected by the diaphragm. But that diaphragm is not equal to the size of a cell membrane, that is thinner. For example, I take the example of fenestrated capillaries. Best example, renal glomerulus. I taught you last time. Glomerulus is having fenestrations. But I want to reiterate, maybe I got a slip of the tongue. Fenestrated capillaries have a continuous basal lamina. Fenestrated capillaries have a continuous basal lamina. I reiterate this thing. But sir, where are the windows then? Windows should be between the endothelial cells. Windows should be between the endothelial cells. Are we understanding? Basal lamina will be continuous. Basal lamina will be continuous. Okay. If I made any mistake, I'm sorry. Just again, I will speak. Continuous capillaries, continuous basal lamina. Fenestrated capillaries, continuous basal lamina. But where are the windows present, sir? They are present in the endothelial cells. So perforations in the endothelial cells are called fenestrated capillaries. So where will you see these capillaries? If this was exocrine gland, endocrine gland will be having endocrine gland. Endocrine gland has visceral capillaries. Intestine has visceral capillaries. Pancreas has visceral capillaries. Renal glomeruli has visceral capillaries. Are we able to understand, guys? Is it clear? Now, what about sinusoidal, sir? I have taught you in great detail in the liver, in the lymph node, in the bone marrow, that if the fenestrations, see what is the continuous definition of, what is the difference in the definition of these three? Continuous capillaries have a continuous basal lamina with no fenestrations in the endothelial cells, no windows between the endothelial cells. No windows between the endothelial cells, no windows, full connection. Visceral capillaries have continuous basal lamina but have windows in between them in the endothelial cells. Sinusoidal capillaries have windows but without diaphragm. Without diaphragm, remember this concept officially. Sinusoidal capillaries don't have diaphragms. Okay, have fenestra. That is, fenestra means these windows. Okay, so which of the following is the biggest? Who is the biggest diameter? Sinusoid. Think like a pool. Okay, sinusoid. like sinuses. Okay, something a dilated part. Okay, do they have pinocytic vesicles? No, sir. Sir, do they have a continuous basal lamina? No continuous basal lamina. No continuous basal lamina. Discontinuous basal lamina, sinusoid. Discontinuous basal lamina, sinusoid. Okay, discontinuous basal lamina, sinusoid. So which of the following is having a discontinuous basal lamina? Sinusoid. Which of the following is having continuous basal lamina? First two, fenestrated, continuous. Which is lacking diaphragms? Sinusoidal. Which is lacking diaphragms? Sinusoidal. Okay. I repeat it because maybe somewhere I have got a slip of a tongue. That's why I'm correcting myself. Okay. So sinusoidal, basal lamina, discontinuous. Pinocytic vesicles absent in sinusoid. Who is having pinocytic vesicles? Continuous. Who is not having or who is having less pinocytic vesicles in the continuous? Example, CNS. They should be remembered. They have, sinusoids have leakage happening between the endothelial cells. That's how things are getting exchanged. Please refer to the lectures in liver histology. Taught you already, I think uploaded already on the YouTube. Go to the liver. I have drawn the sinusoids. I have shown in the pictures also how things are draining, how things are moving towards the central vein. Okay. So I've taught everything in that. Now, who is maintaining the permeability of these capillaries? By the way, who is maintaining? Permeability will be increased. Now tell me one thing. This is a tissue. This is a tissue. This is a, oh, I think I have made a boat, okay, on the Atlantic. So see, this is a skin, okay, skin. So below this, more I am going inside, more I am going towards the viscera. This is the out, this is the in. Now what happens? I have a bacterial infection here. I got a bacterial infection here, and this region is having now no blood vessel is also there. Now tell me one thing. If I want my neutrophil, where are my neutrophils? I have local macrophages also, but yeah, neutrophils should also come here at the acute inflammation site. So neutrophil, if they want to come, they should be able to reach here. Cells of acute inflammation, they should be able to reach here. But problem is that the membrane, the region is having what? It is having no, it's continuous right now. So what will happen during the course of inflammation? There is release of some inflammatory mediators, histamine and bradykinin. These two will lead to increased permeability of these membranes. So you will have more leakage of fluid towards this side. That's what you have seen in your inflammation. Whenever you get an inflammation, more amounts of things will start going to that location, isn't it? So permeability should be maintained by what? By changing how to regulate a permeability. I should change either the size of an endothelial cell, okay, or I should change the shape of the things, or I can change a charge, isn't it? These are the things which I can change during this permeability process. And second thing to remember is leukocytes, if they are leaving this region, this migration from blood to this area is called diapedesis. This is called diapedesis. Remember, what is the concept? Diapedesis means whenever the neutrophils or leukocytes are entering these spaces, tissue spaces from the blood vessel by going through these intercellular junctions. Okay, we have intercellular junctions. This concept is called diapedesis. Okay, is it clear, guys? Is it clear? Okay, so I think we will take one more video because we have studied it in great detail, histological relation. I have integrated the histology, I think, with the physiology also. So let me tell you first, give me last 5 minutes and then we end the class. Okay, what should be the function of capillaries, by the way? What should be the function of the capillaries? How they are helping you out in the physiology? So let us tell you some points. Okay, it will help you. You know, the capillaries are having, basically, if you go to the capillaries of the lung, I give you a general overview, whatever I can think about capillaries. Capillaries have, if you talk about the lungs have special capillaries. Okay, they have capillaries, and this capillary is having a special enzyme that is called ACE, angiotensin converting enzyme. This is all in the RAS system, okay, which we will be learning in the blood regulation. So angiotensin, if you want to convert angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2, this angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2 is converted by angiotensin converting enzyme ACE, which is present in the capillaries of the endothelial cells. And this angiotensin 2 will stimulate aldosterone. It will stimulate aldosterone and will lead to water retention and increase in blood pressure. Once you have more water, that means more fluid volume, that means expansion of the blood volume, that means increase in the blood pressure. That's how you are regulating once you have a low BP. Okay. They have capillaries was the activating enzyme. This was about activation. I'm talking about what? Now, inactivation or deactivation. They also can deactivate many things. Okay. They can deactivate bradykinin. They can deactivate, listen, I'm writing it under the heading of deactivation. They can deactivate thrombin. They can deactivate norepinephrine. They can deactivate prostaglandins. They can deactivate serotonin. These are the things it can deactivate. Your triglycerides and cholesterol. Okay, if you want to produce them, what you do is you break the lipoproteins. This is done by them. There is a nice, by the way, a very beautiful substance the God has given us. That is the vasodilator, prostacyclin, PGI. Prostacyclin is a potent vasodilator. What is potent? That is, with less dosage is able to produce that effect. I love pharmacology. Potent vasodilator. So prostacyclin is produced by, I told you last time, PGI2, thromboxane A2. Do we remember that? Balance is present in the body so that clotting does not happen in the thrombus physiology. Okay. So another thing, they can also produce what? So they will ask you, tell me name of one factor. So what is, by the way, this prostacyclin doing? Prostacyclin is doing vasodilation and inhibits platelet aggregation. Second thing is, it can produce the endothelial cells of this capillaries. It can produce nitrous oxide. Nitrous oxide is a dash. That nitrous oxide was activating DASH system. Anyone? That nitrous oxide was stimulating DASH system. CGMP system. Okay. Well, how to contract? What is the contraction factor produced by the capillary? Endothelin 1. Endothelin 1 is produced by the capillaries to cause contraction. So if you want to do more contraction, produce more endothelin. If you want to produce relaxing factor, produce more nitrous oxide. Okay. So this is the concept of this. Okay. So I will be continuing this discussion because it's important at the histological level that you understand this network. Okay. This is important, really more important. That's why I gave you a correlation between physiology and the things I can, recapitulate or remember. Okay. So I hope you have enjoyed this discussion. Keep subscribing my channel and stay tuned with my new videos coming up. So I will be making, tomorrow we will be taking the discussion. Finally, we will be finishing the cardiovascular histology. Okay, definitely we will do it. So any questions we have? Okay, thank you very much. Have a nice day. God bless you. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.